Hey everyone! If you own a home and you're past 60, lawmakers have been unusually busy on housing this month. And some of what's already passed, plus what's still being debated, includes details I think will genuinely catch you off guard. One bill quietly became law just over 2 weeks ago without much fanfare. A second proposal could let some seniors pocket up to $1 million in home sale profit without owing a dime in federal tax. And a third idea on the table would wipe out property taxes altogether for homeowners who've stuck around long enough. Today, I'm walking through all three: what's now law, what's still pending, and what you can start doing today, no matter how any of this shakes out. First, though, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Legislation touching housing affects the biggest asset most older Americans have, and things are moving fast. Subscribe now, and let's dig in. Let's start with what's already law, because most people never even heard about it. On July 11, 2026, the 21st Century Road to Housing Act became law without a formal signing ceremony and with barely any headlines. Here's the interesting part: the president neither signed nor vetoed the bill within the constitutional 10-day window, so it became law automatically. Almost nobody caught this happening in real time. The act bundles together a wide range of housing supply proposals. The piece that matters most for older homeowners places new limits on large institutional investors, the private equity firms and hedge funds that have spent years snapping up single-family homes in hot markets, pulling them off the market for regular buyers, and adding to the shortage that's driven prices to record highs. For seniors weighing whether and when to downsize, this is relevant. One of the biggest roadblocks has been finding an affordable place to move into. If these investor restrictions genuinely open up more inventory in the coming years, downsizing conditions could improve. Don't expect overnight change. Housing markets shift slowly, but it's a real structural move aimed at a problem that directly touches senior housing decisions. Now, the proposal that could put real money back in some seniors' pockets if it becomes law. Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis of New York introduced H.R. 9064, called the Nest Egg Protection Act, on June 1, 2026. The bill has a single major goal: temporarily raising the capital gains tax exclusion for homeowners age 65 and up who've owned and lived in their primary residence for at least 25 years, applying to sales made between 2027 and 2030. Here's what that actually means. Under today's rules, unchanged since 1997, you can shield up to $250,000 in profit from capital gains tax when you sell your primary home if you're single, or up to $500,000 if you're married filing jointly. Anything above those limits gets taxed, potentially at 20%, plus an extra 3.8% surtax for higher earners. Those numbers made sense back in 1997, when a typical U.S. home sold for around $172,200. Today, per Federal Reserve figures, the average sale price is roughly $514,600, and considerably more in many major metro areas. Picture a typical senior homeowner right now. You bought your house in 1995 for $180,000. And it's worth $650,000 today. That's a $470,000 gain. Under current law, a married couple filing jointly could exclude the full $500,000, so no tax at all, but a single filer can only shield $250,000, leaving $220,000 of that gain exposed to capital gains tax. Roughly $33,000 owed at a 15% rate on a home lived in for 3 decades. Under the Nest Egg Protection Act, that single filer's exclusion would jump to $1 million, wiping out any tax on the full gain entirely. The impact would be even bigger for seniors in pricier markets: California, New York, the Pacific Northwest, parts of Florida, where homes bought decades ago for $200,000 or $300,000 are now worth $800,000 or more. Under today's rules, the tax bill in those cases can be steep. Under the proposed change, it could disappear. Data from Redfin shows nearly 80% of baby boomers own their homes as of 2025, the highest ownership rate of any generation. And as Maliatakis has pointed out, a lot of them are staying put simply because the tax hit from selling is too steep. Housing economists call this the lock-in effect, and this bill is aimed squarely at loosening it. To qualify, you'd need to be 65 or older, have owned and lived in the home as your primary residence for at least 25 years, and the higher exclusion would only apply temporarily to sales between 2027 and 2030. It hasn't passed yet. It's still working through Congress. But if it does clear before 2027, any senior thinking about selling in the next few years should understand exactly what it could mean for them before making a move. The third proposal covers less ground geographically, but goes further in what it's trying to do. Pennsylvania State Senator Doug Mastriano introduced a bill in April 2026, sometimes referred to as the Sam Worley Elderly Tax Relief Act, that would eliminate property taxes entirely for qualifying senior homeowners. The requirements are specific. You need to be 75 or older, have lived in Pennsylvania continuously for at least 10 years, and have owned and lived in your current home for at least 10 years. Meet all three, and your school, county, and municipal property tax bill drops to zero. Mastriano has framed the reasoning simply that continuing to tax people out of homes they've paid into for a lifetime doesn't sit right, and that no senior who's paid taxes for decades should risk losing their home to rising bills. The bill includes annual eligibility checks and penalties for fraudulent claims, and it also lets a surviving spouse keep the exemption regardless of age, as long as they remain in the home. It's currently circulating for co-sponsorship in the Pennsylvania Senate and hasn't had a floor vote yet, but it stands out as one of the more sweeping state-level property tax relief ideas currently active anywhere in the country. Why is this kind of proposal gaining traction? Property taxes have climbed sharply across much of the country, driven by rising home values. The 2026 Social Security cost of living adjustment came in at 2.5%, while property tax bills in many counties climbed 10 to 20% over the same stretch. Researchers have started calling this the house-rich, cash-poor problem. Seniors sitting on substantial home equity but struggling with tax bills that keep outpacing their fixed incomes. Pennsylvania's proposal is aimed squarely at the longest-tenured, oldest homeowners caught in that gap. Now let's talk about what's already available right now, because some of the biggest benefits for senior homeowners are only being claimed by a small slice of the people who actually qualify. Texas significantly expanded its senior homestead exemption in 2025 after voters approved ballot measures raising the additional exemption for homeowners over 65 from $10,000 to $60,000, on top of the standard $140,000 homestead exemption. If you're a Texas senior and haven't recently confirmed your exemption status with your county appraisal district, now's the time. The new amounts kicked in this year, and some counties haven't fully updated records yet. In New York, Governor Kathy Hochul signed a law expanding the senior citizens homeowners exemption, letting local governments offer exemptions of up to 65% of a home's assessed value, up from the previous cap of 50%. That higher exemption applies starting with the 2026 tax year. Income limits are set locally with a statewide ceiling of $500,000, a generous threshold meant to let most seniors qualify. But local governments have to actually opt into the higher level, so it's worth checking whether your municipality has adopted it and whether you need to reapply. New Jersey's Stay NJ program, offering up to $6,500 in property tax relief for qualifying seniors, continues into 2026 alongside the state's Senior Freeze program, which locks in property tax assessments for eligible older homeowners. Here's the thread connecting everything I've covered today, and honestly, the most useful takeaway. None of these benefits happen automatically. Not the state exemptions, not the freezes, not New York's expansion, not the Texas homestead changes. Every one of them requires you to actually apply, and most carry deadlines that land in late summer or early fall, which means right now, in July and August, is exactly the window to submit or renew applications that will affect next year's bill. Call your county assessor's office this week. The number's right on your property tax statement. Ask specifically what senior property tax exemptions, freezes, or relief programs apply to your address, and what the deadline is to apply for each one for next year's taxes. Write the dates down, then apply before they slip by. The savings available to qualifying senior homeowners this year are real and substantial, and they go unclaimed by most eligible seniors every single year, simply because nobody told them to apply. So here's the full rundown. The 21st Century Road to Housing Act became law on July 11th and restricts large institutional investors from expanding their single-family home holdings, a structural change meant to improve supply over time. The Nest Egg Protection Act, still moving through Congress, would raise the capital gains exclusion to $1 million for both single filers and married couples age 65 and older with at least 25 years of ownership for sales between 2027 and 2030. Pennsylvania's property tax elimination proposal would zero out property taxes for homeowners 75 and older with at least 10 years of continuous residency and ownership. And existing programs already active in Texas, New York, New Jersey, and elsewhere offer meaningful property tax relief right now to seniors who apply before this summer's deadlines. Subscribe and share this with anyone over 60 you know who owns a home.